Good morning to our listeners and viewers. I'm Sarah Niguez of the Center for Research and Publication. Today, as we go on air and live, we are bringing you two great news. One, a special 1 hour webinar on the subject salary and benefits survey. And two, this special discussion will be handled in person by our very own compensation expert, Mr. Bobby Marquez, who is well respected in his professional work. The manner in which we do this webinar today is that I will introduce our guest speaker. He will give us about 30 to 45-minute discussion, and we will open the line for question and answers. To those who wish to post their questions, you may utilize the chat box. So to help us in this very challenging task, it is an honor to have with us today the former Vice President for HR of HSBC, Alcatel Rothmans of Mall Holdings, American Microsystems, and a former Director for Strategic Compensation of ABS-CBN. He also spent his early years of HR experience with a beer division of San Miguel Corporation. He is currently a full-time human resources consultant, and his field of specialization is organization and compensation management. He has done extensive consulting engagements in various aspects of human resources management. So, Sir Bobby, you may now do your part.
Good morning. To all of our friends, our colleagues, former students in compensation management who are joining this webinar today. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning to all of you. So for today, our topic is all about salary and benefits benchmarking. And we are taking this opportunity to air or provide you with this webinar as PMAP, as we take off with our project, the 2018 PMAP Salary and Benefits Survey. So before I start, I just would like to briefly give you this question. Do you pay competitive salaries and benefits for your employees? Probably for some of you, you will say yes. Maybe for some, you will say no. And I would like to believe or probably guess that for many, probably it's a question mark. This morning, when we talk about benchmarking, I also would like, therefore, to assume or even believe that this 45 to 1 hour webinar will provide you an answer whether you pay competitive salaries and benefits for your employees. So let's begin. The topic about compensation management cannot proceed without fundamentally talking about the principles of compensation management. And I would like to discuss that there are, in fact, four very important fundamental principles of compensation management. For some of you, probably this is a review. And number one, the principle of internal equity. Second, the principle of competitiveness. The third is all about meritocracy. And the fourth the return on investment or affordability. Okay. So briefly, let me talk about these four principles in context. One, when we talk about internal equity, this is an important principle when we talk about salary and benefits benchmarking because this principle is all about equal pay for equal work. And many of us who are experts in HR, we all know that in order for us to objectively capture this principle in our organization or in the workplace, uh, it talks about the process of job measurement, measuring the job, or popularly, this is called job evaluation. In other words, putting the job into its proper level in the organization, because this is again the basic determinant of making a decision what is the basis for the job pricing. So internal equity is very important. Equal pay for equal work, and of course, when we talk about this fundamental equity of equal work, equal pay for equal work, it means also that more difficult work has to be compensated appropriately, or more pay for more difficult work. And I believe you will all agree with me when we talk about this fundamental principle of internal equity. Second, the principle of competitiveness. And in fact, our subject matter this morning, salary and benefits benchmarking, competitiveness indeed is an important principle because corollary to the first question, are you paying your people competitively? Okay. Therefore, we have to understand, again, in the right context, what competitiveness really means. Okay. So we talk about people, we talk about the money, and of course, when we talk about competitiveness, it is of course relative or with reference to what we call salary survey. This is also, in fact, why part of this webinar, and at the end of this webinar, we would like to also introduce to you the project of PIMA, the 2018 Salary and Benefits Survey. And in fact, in order for us to know whether we are competitive or not, this is of course with reference to the salary survey or the salary market, where your company, your industry is in. And if, when we talk about the first principle of internal equity, we're talking about measurement through job evaluation. When we talk about the second principle of competitiveness, our mathematical calculation here is all about the comparative ratio, or what we call comparison. And when we say competitive, the salary must post a ratio of 100% in order for us to say, indeed, we are competitive. So this is the second principle. The third principle is all about meritocracy. And of course, we all know that nowadays, gone are the method of doing the traditional across the board. And in fact, uh, is well, you know about this, the balanced scorecard. And mathematically, we make an effort to go through the process of forced ranking. And this is mathematically the measurement of what we call the bell curve, or the normal distribution. This is also an effort for us really to distinguish who are your best performers, the outstanding, maybe you have other names of calling it, the excellent performers, okay, the exceed, etc., whatever name you want to call it. These are exactly the people who are bringing value-added contribution for your organization, for your business, making the strategic difference in terms of performance. And of course, the third principle is all about return on investment, your affordability, which is of course anchored on your cost or your budget. So again, these are the four important principles of compensation management. So we will now go to our topic for this morning for our webinar, the salary and benefits benchmarking. So we often heard the word benchmarking, but specifically for this webinar, we're talking of benchmarking, again in the context of salary and benefits. So what is benchmarking? It is defined as the process of measuring the performance of a company's products, services, or processes against those of another business considered to be the best in the industry or best in class. Why do we benchmark? Because we would like to slowly put ourselves on the level of how our best competitors are doing their business. Best competitors mean that they have probably the majority share of the business market. Okay. They have captured the bigger size of the market revenue, and therefore everybody's following what are they doing right, you know, and what are the best practices that they're doing, which made them competitive or best in class. Okay. The second bullet definition is through this measurement process, acceptable quantitative methods, the objective of benchmarking is to identify internal opportunities for improvement. Therefore, by identifying the gaps, we can determine how can we closely, okay, be comparable to our best competitors in the market. So in other words, we are slowly but surely making a deliberate effort to be where our best competitor is. So therefore, in the context of salary and benefits, your primary driver in order to attract your best talents, and of course, it remains a challenge for many organizations as far as retaining your best talents. But of course, to begin with, salary and benefits are of course very basic. As you know, the first step in order for us to be able to attract your best talents, who will make it happen for you to be also the best in class in the industry where you're in. So, if that is our definition of benchmarking, we cannot proceed any further without making a credit to Peter Drucker, who has this distinction of being the father of business management. And he said that if you can measure it, you can improve on it. Okay. So therefore, in order for us to claim that we are competitive, we need to measure that we are in fact competitive. And these measurements are, of course, vital and, of course, essential in our effort to go through the process of benchmarking. So let's proceed. Okay. So what are the benchmarking guidelines that we need to have in mind when we talk about benchmarking? One, okay, what is your company? So, is your company in the field of pharmaceutical, manufacturing, BPO? Okay. Of course, you know the answer because you know very well your company, and it is definitely your basic know-how. What is also the industry or which industry your company belongs? No? So which industry do you belong? Do you belong to a BPO? Do you belong to a banking, mining, manufacturing? When we talk about the second bullet, which industry do you belong? Of course, is the challenge for some industries, if not many of them, industries belonging to a unique industry classification, and they are fundamentally unique. Okay, and probably some of our participants now belong to this unique industry where comparators are rarely available in the market. So, what is our unique, therefore, benchmarking guideline in order for us to be able to do our benchmarking process? So, the third bullet here is knowing your company, knowing the industry where you belong, is of course drilling down further in terms of what is your company service. Number one, in terms of revenue. Second, in terms of employee size. Okay. Meaning, if you are a local farmer, for example, with a modest revenue of X million uh, of pesos, okay, you definitely cannot compare or therefore benchmark with a very large multinational pharmaceutical company, right? With a revenue size of, you know, millions and employee size of probably 1,000. Okay? So when we talk about benchmarking guidelines, we are slowly but surely trying to drill down and compare our company very close and specific. Which company can we benchmark? And we have to benchmark with these comparable companies because they are actually our uh, very close competitors. Okay, again, in the industry where we belong. So, and then the fourth bullet is all about therefore identifying which companies are your target competitors. Okay. therefore, as I said, if you are a small local pharma company, you have to identify uh, your close competitors. Okay. Again, number one, another local pharma companies. Okay. Same revenue as you are, same revenue size as you are. Okay. So therefore, your direct competitors or competitors in the same industry. Okay. And nobody can, of course, prevent you from further doing your customization. Why? Because, you know, while you are probably a local player, a local farmer, okay, but you are obviously losing your best people who are multinational farmers, right? So it pays to look at who are your uh, customized target companies. Okay. And of course, the pay strategy later on will play a very crucial role uh, in doing your benchmarking. And of course, the fifth guideline is all about the functional benchmarking guidelines. Uh, your internal equity guidelines, your job evaluation, your hierarchy, your leveling, your pay grade. Okay? Vis-a-vis if you will be using uh, global salary survey, therefore we will make use of the global job grading system. Okay? And the functional disciplines like comparing the external sales salary market for sales vis-a-vis your internal. What about your operations group, your finance, your IT, down the line? So these are the benchmarking guidelines that we need to have in order for us to have an equally uh, effective, no, and very rationalized benchmarking process. So, in order for us to be able to apply these benchmarking guidelines, is for us to be able also to know the components of the total reward structure, which is of course common thread in many organizations, if not all of the business organizations, which begins with okay, the level one, the base salary. Okay, and when we talk about the annual base salary, of course, this is the monthly times 12 is your annual. Okay. This is our first level component of our total rewards. The second is all about guaranteed pay. While many companies are implementing guaranteed 13th month pay because this is a compliance issue, many companies are in fact providing or giving their employees guaranteed 14th month, you know. And of course, our friends from the banking industry will also confirm to us that in this industry, the common practice is guaranteed 15 months or even guaranteed 17, 16, you know. So this is what we call guaranteed pay, meaning whether the business is good, whether the business is challenging, whether they made profit, whether they did not, okay, it is a guaranteed commitment that they have to pay their employees, guaranteed X months of salaries. Okay? This is the level two component of total rewards. The third is the benefits and the perks. Okay. When we talk about level three, level two or guaranteed pay plus the monetized value of all the benefits and perks of your employees, such as the HMO or the health maintenance benefits, okay, VL and SL, allowances such as rice, meal, clothing, okay, and etc. Okay. Of course, part of the benefits and perks also include your executive compensation, benefits such as car, is it a car plan? Is it a car allowance? Is it a company car? Club membership, right? Okay. And of course, level four, the variable pay. No, it's all about compensation which are variable or discretionary in nature. When we talk about variable or discretionary, this is basically tied up with your company making profit or not. Variable or discretionary further means that if you made very good profit last year, you also provided no, very generous performance bonus to your employees. And probably, if this year is a challenging year, maybe you may not give as much as what did you give last year, or none at all. That's why it is variable or discretionary. Okay, as opposed to the level two, which is guaranteed. And of course, the level five is the sum total of levels one, two, three, and four, and we call it total annual compensation or TAC. Therefore, when we talk about benchmarking, we just don't compare if we are competitive from a base perspective or what we call level one compensation. Because many companies, while probably are not competitive from a base to base perspective, okay, there are companies generously providing guaranteed 14, guaranteed 15, and from that alone will give you an idea that the bottom line of it means that you are therefore competitive from the level 5 perspective of doing your benchmarking. Plus your level 3, okay, your benefits, okay. Do you encash your SL or VL if these are not utilized or consumed? If yes, this will add up to your level 5, AC. Okay. What about the cost of premium for paying your HMO, your life insurance, your other benefits like allowances, your rights, okay, your meal, your transportation, your gasoline. Okay, so all of this means cost. Okay, and when we talk about cost, it is also important for us, HR and compensation experts, to be able to monetize and therefore quantify the value of the benefits. Again, add up the level 4 variable pay. Do you provide generous performance bonuses for a good revenue performance for a given year. So when you put all of these levels of compensation together, will give you the level 5 of the total annual compensation. And again, by comparison, while probably many of the companies are not competitive from a base-to-base perspective, but when you go to the level 5 compensation, you will see that that will make the difference that you are in truth and in fact competitive from a TAC perspective. So these are the components, or these are the levels of the total rewards perspective of our benchmarking guidelines. Now, next. So we have defined, we have monetized, we have quantified the different levels of our compensation from 1 to 5, and therefore goes the challenging part of how do we therefore analyze our competitiveness from each level of compensation, from base down to TAC. The first measure is, of course, knowing your mix, okay, your compensation mix or your pay mix. Okay. And the pay mix is a measure, okay, of determining the ratio of base salary, benefits and perks, guaranteed pay, variable or performance bonuses to your TAC. So the ratio of your base salary. Okay. I will show you a simulation in one for you to be able to see a better perspective of how we calculate the pay mix. Okay. So we calculate the ratio of base salary to TAC, the ratio of guaranteed pay to TAC, the ratio of benefits and perks to TAC, and of course, the ratio of your bar pay to your TAC. Okay. Next, the second level analysis is your compare ratio, and it is defined as index of measurement to determine whether you are competitive. And of course, competitive with regard to your target MDP or your target market data point. When we talk about your target MDP, is your pay strategy wanting to compare your best people with the 50th percentile of the market, with the 75th percentile of the market, okay, with the upper third quartile of your salary structure, okay, and therefore mathematically, if your calculation yielded 100% or probably even more compare ratio, that is a fulfillment of your claim to fame that you are indeed competitive. Because 100% compare ratio means that a salary is competitive. And of course, here is your formula to make it happen. The present salary over your target or desired market data point. Okay. So it is important for you to calculate your base salary, base to base, your internal salary to the target MDP or market, your internal TAC to the TAC of your target market. Okay. So remember, in order for us to be able to rationalize and have an effective benchmarking when we say effective benchmarking is something that we can, you know, uh, defend in court, as they call it. Okay, it is something that if asked, we are therefore pushing against ourselves. We are pushing ourselves against the wall in terms of, justifying why competitive or why not competitive. So now, I would like to make a simulation now, and I would like to open this file. Okay. Okay. So let me just do a check. You have a view of the Excel file. Okay. Example: the benchmark job is HR manager, senior level. It will be very, very interesting for our participants today who are currently holders of this position. Okay. Example: your company. Okay. Column H. Okay. Uh, and I just got one comparator. Company A. Of course, there should be more than one. But for purposes of this simulation, just to simplify the process, we just opted for comparing with one. We're not saying limit your comparator to just one. We're not saying that. This is just an example. So 1.2, equivalent position in your company is senior HR manager, or probably in another company, the equivalent position title is HR manager. Okay. Now, again, titles are misleading. That's why, from the principle of internal equity, we put more value in terms of what is the job grade. Okay. So, therefore, 1.3, what are the different compensation levels? Okay. While we talked about the different compensation levels a while ago, And of course, 1.3.5 is your TAC. While the comparator company is providing 2.3, this company is, this HR manager from this company is receiving a total annual compensation of 2.2 vis-a-vis the comparator of 2. So let us analyze. Okay. First, the compensation mix. Okay. The ratio of base salary to TAC is 60%. Okay. Okay. When we talk about developing your structure for your payments, you cannot, or we will not be able to determine what this number is all about without putting in place the baseline figures. It is important for us to start. In fact, if we will put all of this together, we call it the compensation dashboard. Okay, meaning your mix or your ratio of base to mix, base to TAC now is 60. Okay, as you move on month after month, is it going up or is it going down? Okay. So that is exactly the tracking system in order for you. So at this point in time, the 60% doesn't mean anything except that for the rule of the thumb, the 60-40 rule, it looks like it is acceptable, right? Okay. But looking at company A with a mix of with a ratio of 55 no, right, sorry for the inconvenience. We are arresting some glitch. Okay, okay. So the 55.19, okay, looks lower than the rule of the thumb 60, but if you will look at the TAC, okay, sige, tapusin mo. Okay, sorry for that. No. Okay. It is an indication, however, that the company is providing a generous bargain or performance bonus, which is 45%. Okay, so this is the trade-off. So we just cannot claim immediately that your base is not competitive. Okay, therefore we can determine that by looking at your comparison. Okay, 1.5.1 is the 50th percentile of the market, meaning the market is telling you the median is 100K. Okay, therefore going back, the base salary of the HR manager is 114,000, and therefore 114.4% comparison. And as we said, the measurement is anything higher than 100% means the salary is competitive. Or even if you will look at the TAC, the TAC is saying that from an annual perspective, the comparison of the senior HR manager is 112, while the other is 160. Okay. So if you're doing this kind of analysis, okay, uh, these are measurement indicating that you are properly paying your employees. Therefore, conversely, if you're posting compare ratio or even from a base and from a KC perspective, lower than 100% or say 60%, uh, 70%, okay, this is alarmingly low. And therefore, if that is your measurement, it simply means that your good people, your best talents, are vulnerable or susceptible to your competition. In other words, you're driving them out of your company. Okay? You are encouraging Ano mga ka-direct ha kung pwede na mag-start?
Floor Director.
Oh, we are sorry for the technical glitch that happened a while ago. Anyway, we have a few more slides to go anyway. Just to finish the discussion, this is the process in terms of us being able to quantify our benchmarking process in doing the benchmarking process for your respective companies, analysis of PMIX, and of course, the analysis of compare ratio. I think while we're on break, we received a couple of requests from participants. Yes, we will be sending you the copy of our presentation material and attachments. You just have to signify to TMAP your intention to our technical team. Please signify your interest to our technical team that you are requesting for a copy of our materials, and we will provide you with the copy of the PowerPoint and the attachments. So please allow me to proceed. Okay. In order to make our salary and benefits benchmarking efforts happen, it is very important for us to have a market survey in the first place. This is where the total reward survey of Mercer, of Powers Watson, and for our participants, for our audience this morning, we would like to take this opportunity to inform you that in PMAP, we have also launched our 2018 salary, our 2018 PMAP salary and benefits survey. The last publication, the last survey that we did was last year, 2016, and we are now doing it again. We're now updating our salary and benefits survey with some major improvements to add from our previous survey. Like this year, we will be doing our salary and benefits survey report covering the 5 levels of compensation. We will provide you with the data for monthly base, the annual guaranteed, the allowances and other benefits, performance bonus, and of course, level 5, the AC. And we will also be, once we have finalized the report, our target, of course, is to have this done in October. Okay, we will also come up with a session to orient all participating companies, or interested companies which participated in the survey. We will be doing an orientation. In other words, how you can use the survey. How can you do the benchmarking in practice? Okay. So that's part of our commitment for you. JJ. Wala. Wait. Okay. And if you will participate in our 2018 salary and benefits survey, what's in store for you? Okay. This is an outline of the report we intend to publish. Okay. I would like to focus on number 7, the summary of the survey. Like it will include part 1, okay, the cash compensation data. Okay, it will be broken down from general industry, by company size, by location. We hope to be more aggressive and robust with our provincial data this time because we are aggressively campaigning with our factors, with our member companies from our different chapters from north to south. Okay, so by industry, okay. And of course, we will also be providing data segmentation by functional discipline, okay, from general management, finance, HR. Okay. So, and another improved feature for this year is additional data for the blue collar jobs. Okay. We will be summarizing data for compensation practices, and of course the benefits practices from the de minimis other fringe benefits. So this is the, the coverage of our final report. Okay, and of course, for those of you who are interested, we will be providing you with this questionnaire. Okay, and from there, we will now proceed with our question and answer. In the interest of time, it's 11:25, but of course, notwithstanding that we stopped for a while to address some technical issue about our webinar. Now, question number 1. When it comes to retailing and merchandising industry, is it normal that they do not pay their employees holiday working schedule? Okay, let me answer this question. Is it normal that they do not pay their employees holiday working schedule? The labor code is very clear that for rank and file employees, okay, holiday pay is important, but of course we need to know and understand what do we mean by holiday pay. But if you will really look at your labor code, all rank and file employees are covered as far as this provision for holiday pay is concerned. Now, what about your non-rank and file employees, your soups, your managers? Then that remains management prerogative whether to pay them a holiday pay or not. But in terms of really what is mandated by law, you are mandated to pay your rank and file employees the required holiday pay. Okay. We go to the next question, number 2. There are still companies practicing or giving false hopes to every applicant when it comes to giving the competitive salary. Okay. So what is the best way to overcome this problem? As I mentioned a while ago, the competitive line of the market is the median. Okay. And of course, now, for many of you who participated in this webinar for the first time, probably by now, you have a better understanding that if you will calculate the compare ratio and if it gives you 100% index, then that means it is competitive. Therefore, by really having market data in place, definitely we will not give false hopes to our prospective, your applicants or to your prospective employees, because one indicator, if you're not basing our job pricing from an empirical data or market data, when you're just making a wild guess in terms of what is the compensation you have to give, of course, notwithstanding the fourth principle of affordability, then chances are we are not you're giving false hopes, or you are not giving or providing a competitive salary, no? Not just the baseline, but the TAC to your applicants or to your prospective employees. Therefore, the best answer to this is always do your job pricing effort with reference to salary market data. Okay. Next question is this is actually the third question. Okay. Is it mandatory or necessary to be de minimis? Well, when you say mandatory, meaning is it mandated by law? Okay. What is mandated under the different sets of de minimis benefits? What is mandated is the maximum allowable of allowance that you can provide, which you will enjoy the tax-free benefit of the de minimis benefit. For example, de minimis benefit A, okay, the IRR provision of the revenue code of BIR is saying 1,000, no? Okay. So if you will be providing this benefit A, okay, to your employees, therefore you can enjoy the tax-free provision of that benefit if you will max the benefit or the grant of it up to 1,000. Okay, but under the law, you are not mandated to give the de minimis. It's just that if you will provide it, this is the maximum allowable provision of the tax exempt that you can provide. Okay, I hope we answered the question clearly and properly. The question here is, there is an illustration here, no? Salary perks is equal to employee retention versus working environment is equal to employee retention. Which is more challenging to most employers? Okay. Actually, the more challenging is the working environment, you know, because many companies, after they have made a deliberate effort. I'm talking of from the perspective of my consulting experience. Many companies are in fact competitive. Why? Because their bottom line compa ratio is even higher than 100%, and yet their attrition is very high. Therefore, the problem here is the working environment, not the salary, the perks. You know, that's why in another literature of compensation management, it talks about how to properly reinforce your non-financial compensation or your psychological rewards in your respective organization. Now, let's go to the fifth question. How do we conduct benchmarking in a legal way? Okay, I mean, how do we ask other companies for salary and benefits details in a most legal and polite way? Okay, probably the question is, how do we conduct benchmarking in a more professional way? Okay, because benchmarking is not governed by legal guidelines. Okay, uh, when we talk about how to do it in a professional way, uh, it's very important for us to develop our reputation in the industry that participating companies can trust us as far as they're entrusting their confidential data to you. Okay. So if we have not attained that level of trust and confidence that you as the protagonist or initiator of the survey, they cannot if your level of confidence is not at the level of maturity yet, better course it through your professional, better course it through to other professional organizations. Like, for example, your professional industry covering the pharma, okay, industry covering the pharma, how do you call it, semiconductor, the retailing, okay. Uh, they can initiate the survey through the sponsorship of other professional organizations. TeamUp can also do that for many. In fact, TeamUp is doing this for many of our member companies. No? They bring the, the project to us, and we will do the project in order for target participating companies to have that level of trust and confidence. After all, the data can be properly safeguarded. So again, develop that level of credibility. If we don't have that, then there are professional organizations which we can course through this survey to make it happen. Another question, what is the best performance appraisal method that most of the workforce, considering that most of the workforce are millennials? Well, still the balanced scorecard is the best so far, no? Performance or PMS method, performance management system method, regardless of you have Gen X, the boomers, or millennials, because in a typical scorecard system, you're able to quantify the performance of your employees, and summarize it to make it even more effective, use the forced ranking or the bell curve. Uh, Another question. We're narrowing down our question to the last three. Okay. We plan to set the positions pay depending on the result of the JE. Okay. Is there a standard way or at least best practice to implement this? Uh, the JE is your intervention to make your job structure happen. Okay. And your job structure is an equally important pay structure in order for you to be able to develop your salary structure. So, the best practice to implement this, your job evaluation, and of course, when you move to the salary market, again, make it more objective and rationalized. The salary market survey is important. Okay. So, third last question: what is the best option in giving medical benefit? Is it through HMO or through third party administration? Uh, well, maybe in terms of experience, uh, because I have a client. They experimented on what they call it self-insurance. In the absence of a better term, that simply means there's no HMO, there's no third party. In other words, the prevailing guidelines that they have been using when they're using the HMO, they simply provide it. When they look at the year-end cost, it substantially went down. I call it they call it self-insurance. Okay. In other words, they are the administrator of the benefit. Okay. Okay. What should be the reasonable or ideal ratio between employee compensation and net income of the company? To begin with, there is no ideal ratio. Okay. And again, to begin with, it is important for us to uh, develop our initial dashboard in order for us to be able to accumulate the, the data in terms of compensation mix, you know. And once we have established and we have how do you call it? We have you have the data, okay. And then from there, that is the ideal time for you to determine what are your benchmark guidelines in terms of establishing the ratio. But without those fundamental data yet, your data bank, uh, you cannot, no? The only rule of the thumb ratio that we have is, of course, the ratio of the rank and file level, the ideal ratio of base vis-a-vis benefits, that is 70/30. Okay. For supervisory level, it's 60/40. For managerial and executive, it's 50/50. Now, uh, it is not appropriate to factor in at this point in time the net income, you know, uh, because the net income can be more appropriate in developing an ideal ratio between your variable pay or performance bonus vis-a-vis your net income. Okay, so the net income should be a consideration or a parameter or a factor in considering your variable pay or performance bonus. Because frankly, the net income is the driver of how much, you know. But in many companies, when you talk about the ratio of what ratio of from the net income, what is the ratio of the performance bonus, the retained earning, it should be 70-30. Okay. 70 to 20%, 30 is high. 20% will go to the performance bonus pot. Okay. And the 80 to 20%, 80 to 70% will flow back to investment in form of what you call retained earning. Okay. I am working a startup software development company. It's difficult for us to retain our potential employees due to our offered salary. We can't afford to give them a higher package. Our company is not yet established and stable. What can a startup company do to have a competitive salary package? Again, we will always advise you to embrace your salary and benefit survey. Because if not, you will continue with the practice we call guesstimate. But if you have this empirical data, okay, this is the market is telling you, which is the competitive line of the market, then you will know when an applicant is overselling himself, your company, making or asking for an unreasonable salary. Okay, but with salary market data in place, you are properly guided that you're dealing with unreasonable candidates, and of course, if at that point they are already unreasonable, they can be more unreasonable if they are already in your employment, in your plantilla. Okay. Why there are some companies practicing cost cutting? What are the pros and cons? Well, cost cutting simply means the company is not achieving its revenue commitment. Okay, that's one. And of course, it's losing money because your cost is high. Okay, your expense is high, and the coming in of what you call revenue is not in accordance with what you have projected revenue wise. Okay, so the pros and the cons. Well, if you are implementing cost cutting, okay, cost cutting is not bad at all, especially if you know that there are abuse in terms of the implementation of cost from one expense item to another. Like there is an abuse in your overtime. There is an abuse in the utilization of your other benefits. Okay. Then rationalized implementation, I think, is the better way of doing it. No? More rationalized implementation of your benefits, meaning monitor it to the point that it is not prone or susceptible to abuse. Now, uh, what are the cons? If you will not do it, and if the desired revenue is not coming in, there is a very high probability that your company will fold up. No? So better yet, don't wait for the time. The pros and the cons of cost cutting is such that these are proactive efforts in order for you to save the company. No, that's one. Second, in order for you to guide your employees, no, utilize efficiently the benefits and the perks that you are giving them to make them feel motivated in doing their job. Okay, so I think that is the last question, and in the interest of time, we would like to thank all of you uh, for joining our webinar. And if you have more questions, please submit it to our secretariat, to our webinar secretariat, and we will be more than glad to respond to your questions. And for those who are interested to participate in our 2018 PIMA salary and benefits survey, we will be more than glad to you're most welcome to join our survey. And thank you for being with us, and have a nice time and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you and goodbye. Off na.